Okay, so Mayor Pro Tem Benson is going to do the invocation for us.
All right. Please remain standing for the pledge. Bless this town and may it remain a beautiful and friendly place to live. We pray that this board makes fair and informed decisions this morning. We also pray that our police officers, firefighters, and members of our armed forces here and around the world remain safe as they risk so much for our security and country. We also pray that our town be spared the ravages of hurricanes and other natural disasters, and that everyone associated with the town remains safe and secure. Amen.
Amen. And the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Okay, with that in mind, I'd like to ask for approval on the agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to delete the item relating to the Board of Adjustment. I think that's not generally how we have those type of things on there, as to have, and I understand there's other people that might be involved in that, so I would move that we strike that from the agenda.
So are you thinking, Rick, that there's other applicants that we haven't seen yet?
Right, yeah, I know there's at least one.
That has submitted an application?
That's actually currently on the Board of Adjustments, so one of the alternates.
Has that person submitted an application?
I don't know that they've submitted an application yet, but I did contact them, and I'm waiting for them to come back, so.
Discussion from the board?
I don't know what to say, frankly. I don't, how long do we wait? Was a notice put out? Notice was put out, I presume. Applications were submitted per the notice, I presume. And now we're trying to take it off the agenda. So I'm at a loss for understanding what's different procedurally this time around than in historically in the past.
Did we have a date of 30 days for applications? Did we have an end date?
It was posted after the last Board of Aldermen meeting when I was asked to advertise, so that was done on February 14th.
And don't
So
we
my
ask
question
And we
was,
received one applicant.
but was there an end date where we were stopping accepting applications?
No, there's never an end date. They can
Okay.
always apply.
You got something else, Mike?
No,
Okay,
I
so
thought they
how
had to
many?
be in 7 days, the applications had to be in 7 days before the board met.
How many openings do we have?
One.
Okay.
But you also have 2 alternates right now, and you've got 4 members and 2 alternates, and at the last Board of Adjustment meeting, they had the quorum as well.
Okay. So we've got this on the agenda. We've got an application. Application from a citizen who has demonstrated considerable dedication in the past to this town. Has served on several boards and was also an appointee to the Board of Aldermen. And now we're holding out for somebody else. Is what it looks like. That's the optics here. And I frankly don't like the optics.
How many committees is this person on?
We just appointed her to the planning board, and she's vice chairman of the planning board. And we had talked about it, and I agree with you, I think that she is
So
outstanding.
I think at this point, though, we're not vetting candidates. All we're trying to do is see if we are leaving this on the agenda or removing it till next month.
Bye.
That's all I was talking about, is to move it for a month.
So
But by
you're looking
default-
to amend the agenda to remove the item from the agenda.
That's the discussion. So we have a motion. Have a second. We have a request to amend the agenda, so I'm just trying to find out now if the board is okay amending it or if they'd like to leave it as is.
Well, you stated that we're not vetting candidates, but by removing this, we, by default, are vetting a candidate.
I'm saying the conversation to vet a candidate is not appropriate for this particular time because we're just talking about the agenda. That's all. So maybe we can have clerk, can you call roll to see if we're modifying the agenda or leaving the agenda?
Well, the motion on the table is to approve as presented.
Yes.
And I just offered an amendment to remove that item.
So
I'll
that
s-
first motion is dealt with.
I'll second the motion to remove the item from the agenda.
Till next month, just to push
Until
it
next month,
a month. Okay. So we have a motion to amend the agenda and a second to amend the agenda.
Well, we need to.
Procedurally, there's two
We need to deal
motions.
with the first motion first.
So the first motion is to
Approve the
proceed with
agenda.
the agenda as presented.
That got a second, right?
That got a first and a second.
Yes.
So do we need to finish the voting on
Address
that?
Unless
Okay.
someone's willing to amend their motion or withdraw the motion, and hear the motion to amend first.
Okay. So, Clark, who was the first, I think
I
that
made
was,
the motion,
you made the motion, that's what I was
I
gonna ask.
believe.
Okay, and I think, Laura, you seconded it?
No, I did.
You did?
Mhm.
Okay, so then if you guys can weigh in on the first motion as is.
I'm opposed.
I get to vote?
Well, we haven't voted yet.
Once there's a tie, if there's a tie, you have to.
Well, we had a first and a second, so then,
We have to vote on.
okay, I'm coming
Um, Right,
over to-
okay.
If we have this, if we have the second, we have to vote.
Or you can withdraw it.
All
I
right.
wonder why we can't get anything done.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm not going to withdraw it.
Okay, so,
And I vote to retain it as it
okay, so
is.
2 retain and 2
Opposed.
opposed. Okay?
So now what?
The mayor may vote, but she's not required to vote.
But if I don't vote, then
Motion fails.
the motion fails. And then we vote on the second motion.
If it got a second.
The second, to change it also got a first and 2 votes.
This really was out of order, kind of. I mean, I realized that Mr. Grant was being polite, I suppose, waiting for the discussion.
Well, my vote would be to leave it on because we still have, that means there's still alternate positions there. So my vote would be to leave the agenda as it stands.
Madam Clerk,
So the agenda is approved as presented?
Yes,
Okay.
okay. Now the
Alright.
hard part's over. We're going to continue. We're going to move on to the manager's
Wait a minute,
report.
don't we have to vote?
No.
We did.
Okay.
You said you didn't want to withdraw it. You didn't want to withdraw your motion, therefore the motion.
Madam
What he's
Clerk,
asking, so you voted to stick with the current agenda, correct?
all right, just so we're clear, the motion on the floor was to approve the agenda as presented. That motion got a second. During discussion, Alderman Grant indicated he would like to amend the agenda. So unless the first motion is withdrawn, the motion you're voting on is a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Everyone?
So just to be clear, everything that's transpired here, we have an approved agenda at this point to move forward, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Madam Clerk, you understood the votes? Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. First, I would just like to say welcome to Jessica Helms, who's with us this morning as our new finance officer. She's sitting in the back today. She was sworn in this week. So just make sure, if you haven't introduced yourself already, that you meet her before you leave today. Welcome. Second, I'd like to mention Barry Burke, who's been with the town. Today is his 17-year anniversary with the town, and I'd also like to say with regret that he has retired, and today is his official last day with the town of North Topsail Beach. So we wish him the best with his current situation. He's going to be greatly missed. I would just like to say thank you to Barry for your years of service. 17 years with North Topsail Beach. Thank you. Okay, beach projects. Phase 5 work continues, but with additional operational delays. The contractor has not hauled sand this week due to what they reported as ST Wooten being out of sand. I spoke with Fran, who's also on the call today, who's been in contact with the contractor and ST Wooten as well. And they're working to rebuild their stockpile for the contractor to go back and resume operations and go back to delivering full loads of sand for placement. During our discussion yesterday, I confirmed we can still finish Phase 5 along with Phase 1 work with permit extensions. So Fran will be touching base more on that during his report. Schedule is still pending from the contractor to schedule the remainder of Phase 1 project for this environmental window as well. Fire station number 2. The contract has been executed. A notice to proceed is issued to the contractor. The demolition permit was finalized. Demolition is expected the first week of April as of right now. Pre-construction meeting was held on February 28th. The zoning and floodplain permit meeting was held yesterday to keep on track, and I'll be reaching out to everyone soon to schedule a groundbreaking ceremony for the new fire station.
I think we should celebrate the one. We need to celebrate the one coming down as well.
I agree. I think the fire department would agree as well. The next item is the fire truck. If you notice, there's a new shiny fire truck outside parked in the lot this morning. I'm pleased to announce that we received delivery of the new Spartan fire truck this week. We have it staged outside, so if anyone wants to see it after the meeting, please go take a look at it. Back in 2022, we started the process of replacing the 2007 truck by procuring and building a new truck. So it's taken that long to build a new truck, and it's come this way from South Dakota. So it's been a process. The total price was $695,974, which we procured using Sourcewell Purchasing Co-op. Sourcewell ensures we as local government save money from ready-to-use competitively solicited contracts. We also, just as a reminder that we were successful in partnering with Jones Onslow Electric Membership Corporation for a 0% interest loan, which is through a USDA grant. A couple weeks ago, a few members of the fire department, including Chief, went to South Dakota to do a final walkthrough of the truck, and so we're happy that it's made its way here. And I just would like to say a thank you to Jones Onslow just for the grant opportunity, and we're still working to continue with executing the paperwork on the back end and with the grant, which is, we have one more form that is due by March 8th this week, and then closing for the loan is scheduled for March 18th. So it's been a project, but we finally received the truck, so that's good news. The 2024-25 budget, the next budget meeting is scheduled for March 13th and March 14th from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The complete agenda for this meeting will be published this week, so you'll be receiving that soon. Again, we will only have the meeting on one day. Should we need the second day, if we have an overflow of items to discuss, we will hold the meeting on a second day as well. Typically, we do get through things in one day, but we've got an extra day built in there just in case. Public hearing will be held on April 3rd, and that's at the regular Board of Aldermen meeting. And the budget ordinance adoption will be held on the May 1st at the regular meeting as well for the Board of Aldermen. Grants, we prepared and submitted to Onslow County Tourism Grant application on February 29th for $500,000. If awarded, this will be used as financial assistance to assist with debt payment on the 2015 Phase 5 beach renourishment project. Just a reminder that we restructured the loan, which shortened the life of it, with the debt now being paid off by 2027. The restructuring provided lower financing costs and freed up large cash reserves that was originally required to be maintained. We are also on track to submit the grant application for Beach Vitex this week that is due, that we discussed at the February Board of Aldermen meeting. We will be submitting the request for 2 years of treatment, which totals $299,460, plus administrative costs to acquire property waivers or acknowledgements. Both attorneys have reported back and agreed with signed waivers in lieu of easements. So that should be a much easier process for all involved. The NCDOT bike lane project, they are currently waiting for the Division of Coastal Management to review the plans provided and concur with some of the DOT's calls. Once the Division of Coastal Management provides a date to meet in the field, they will be ready to submit their preliminary jurisdictional determination. Once they have this, they will begin the permitting process. So that's where we're at right now. They estimate that approximately 450 adjacent riparian property owners it's going to take some time to reach out to those individuals and get all of the green cards back prior to submitting for approval or denial. The time frame's hard to pinpoint for NCDOT right now, but they're thinking, they're estimating a few months. I also expect to receive how much funding allocation we'll need to make at the end of this week that we'll discuss in our budget meeting that will go into the 24-25 budget. As you recall, we already agreed, signed an MOU to do the studying process and get the permits in place. So we're discussing how much will need to be allocated next year.
So Alice, at this point in time, though, we don't know when CAMA will be able to be on site to make a determination of how far we're able to go with the bike lane. Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
Announcements, the booster pump station, if you arrived this morning, you'll notice some construction going on. Onwassa officially started that last week. Groundbreaking ceremony scheduled for Friday, March 15th at 3 p.m. They just solidified that, so that's new. Met with them on Monday for the project sign placement, and that will be installed near the mailbox out here in front of the parking lot, so you'll see that installed prior to the ceremony.
Any questions for the town manager? No? Okay, then we're going to move on. Do we have anybody signed up for open forum?
Yes, Steve Smith.
Okay, sir, if you want to come up, and your name and your address, please.
My name is Steve Smith. I live at 202 Ernest Drive, North Topsail Beach. Thank you for letting me be able to speak to you folks this morning. I've been there sitting in your seats, and I looked at your agenda. A lot of things was there whenever I was sitting there many years ago, okay? But thank you to citizens that do attend, okay? And I sort of took a back seat after I got out of politics and everything. But what I'm here this morning to talk about and ask the board for, I'm representing the Homeowners Association Board at Bermuda Landing. And we used to have our annual town meetings here at HOAs. Bermuda Landing did. And I'm requesting that we be able, we're spending anywhere from $50 to $100, I guess, $150 to go out and rent somewhere, okay? When the town hall building was torn up and we couldn't come, we'd go out and rent, and we're still going out and renting, okay? A place to stay. And during one of our meetings, I said, why don't we go back to the town board? Because we used to use this building, okay? I know Bermuda Landing did, and I think there were several other HOAs that don't have a meeting room available to them. So I asked the board or whoever to look into it and see, can it become available to us? We'll be responsible for it, okay? We'll make sure it's kept clean when we come in, and if we use it, we won't leave any trash. I'll make sure of that, okay? And take care of it. It looks great. I mean, it's a big difference from I left here in 2005. Yeah, I was on the board from 97 to 2005. So, and it really looks nice in here and everything. So y'all have done a great job. One other point I want to bring out too, a lot of y'all don't remember, is that old South Fire Station was your first town hall. So celebrate that too, okay? That building, okay? I thank y'all, okay, for letting me speak, okay?
Thank you, sir. And just an update on that topic, Laura has been communicating with other towns and gathering information about what everybody's doing with their boardrooms versus different conference rooms and things
Okay.
like that. So it'll be on the agenda next month.
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Curtis Anders?
Sir, if you could also give us your address too, it would be helpful.
Yeah, 136 Seagull Avenue. I'm a new resident to the area. It's going to be my home until I pass on to the Lord. I just have a couple little things. I may have been covered in the past. I'm not sure. I'm catching up with a lot of things. I notice I live at the very end. The road in front of the basketball courts and everything is getting ready to just totally deteriorate coming out of the parking lot. There's two bridges, one at the pier and one just past the pier. When you go across it, you almost feel your rims hit the bridge. I don't know about what the connection of DOT is here to how do we report those things, but those need to be looked at pretty fast because we're going to have some damage on people's cars and stuff coming up in here pretty soon. The other thing I'd like to ask you is I'm caught in between a builder and the post office right now. They don't want to deliver mail to my house. So if anybody here has any knowledge, any connections, or anything that can point me, I'm getting both ends saying no, and I'm stuck in the middle of not getting my mail delivered to my house. You know. So if anybody has that type of connection or knows, just the knowledge that's in this room, I'm sure, is very, very well. I'd really appreciate that. See if I can get that little thing taken care of at my place.
Can I just ask you one quick, do you have a house number on your?
136.
No, I mean, is there, what I found out when we moved in is until we had like a house, like a mailbox up, they wouldn't deliver.
I had,
So you have a
of course, my
mailbox
neighbors and the mail, and everybody told me, yeah, just put a mailbox. See, there's 4 units there, 8 total. Well, the other 7 are all vacation rentals.
Got it.
Mine's, I'm a resident, I'm gonna live there. So my neighbors and everybody says, Curtis, put your mailbox right up next to ours. Fine. Did all this stuff. She actually picked up the mail that I put to mail out. And then I catch her one day and say, I haven't mailed in 4 weeks. It's like, oh, we're not gonna deliver it to you.
It's been spotty at our house too.
Have you called and spoken to the, or gone down to see the postmaster at Sneads Ferry?
I have gone down there. I've talked to everybody. I've given notes to her. Oh, she'll call you. No, she doesn't tell you. I call the operator every day. I'll pass on the note. Oh, 136. We know you very well. We talk about you in the mornings at our meetings. I was like, come on, people. I'm one person in North Topsail. Just do this until, if they build the rest of the damn community one day, I said, fine, we'll go to something like multiple boxes or something. But I'm one person right now. You know how long it's going to take to build that? You know, but it's like, you know the government. I come from the government.
Well,
you know how they're like this.
I think I know what the problem is, okay? You're wearing an Army shirt.
Is that it?
Okay, and the lady that delivers the mail in the Jeep, she's a retired Marine.
See,
Okay, and we all know that Marine, or that Army's an acronym, aren't ready for Marines yet. Okay?
But we're all brothers.
Yeah, I
okay,
know.
we all
I'm
know
just
that.
joking with you. I'm trying to lighten the mood here.
And I joke with them back too. I worked intelligence for 25 years. Okay, where they went,
Wait a
I
minute.
protected them before they got there. Okay?
Military intelligence is
is a Vietnam acronym. Okay.
All right, let's go.
I had a problem with delivery up in my place on Coastal Drive.
Right.
And I went and actually met with, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, and probably somebody different there now, but you need to sit down with the postmaster there.
Yeah, I would agree.
And you know, not over the phone or,
Yeah, I tried.
you know, all that, but go in and see him. I think his name was Mr. Arnold.
Now it's a lady now, I believe. So like,
Okay.
she won't address me.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Don Hibbert?
Don Huber.
Don Hibbert, 2264 New River Inlet, number 105. Thank you all for your service. Last Alderman's meeting, the gentleman was talking about 20,000 cubic yards of sand and I don't remember if that was what was left remaining to put in out by the topsail reef. But I gave everybody a picture of the next morning showing low tide at building number 1. When the Army Corps came in bringing sand down, they went to building 2 of the reef, and then they pulled back up to the top closest to the river and spent most the rest of the time there. And the sand that was being delivered started at the south end of the topsail reef and came up to building number 4, and then they had to stop because there was a pump line in there that was being used for the sandbags that were being topsail reef purchased and being filled. So there was that gap between building 4 and building 1 that didn't get filled, and so I was asking to start back up with that remaining 20,000 to go back up there, and that would tie in the beach up closest to the river with the beach down towards the reef, or excuse me, before the St. Regis. Thank you again for your service.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, Nancy? Is there anyone that would like to speak at this time? Okay, we're going to move on to public. I was like, what are you talking about? Public presentations and hearings. We have Mr. Way. Hi, Fran. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you are up.
Okay. My name is Fran Way. I've been working with the town for the past 5 or 6 years, and I'll just kind of go over kind of the coastal projects that are ongoing and the ones that are planned. And here I'll share my screen. So,
Fran, can you go to a slideshow?
yes, I shall. Let me just go to reading view so I can point.
Perfect.
Okay. Here's just an overview of the North Topsail Beach shoreline from phase 1 up near New River Inlet down to phase 5 at the Surf City town limit. They're different. They're 5 phases. They all are, we have some different projects for phase 1, phase 4, and phase 5 kind of upcoming for the dunes up in phase 1 and phase 2 that we're talking about. They have been taking some erosion here, and there is a recommendation to redo the dunes, to add some sand to the dunes in phase 1 and phase 2. But this is generally the project, and we got phase 5, which is ongoing, phase 4, which we hope to start here in late April. And then phase 1 is still planned for that 20,000, and I'll get into that. And I heard here's phase 1. This is the beach, not dune, truck haul nourishment. The 20,000 cubic yards of material that are still planned for this this month, later this month. It's basically going to start where we stopped last time, and it was, we're doing, this is the Topsail Reef condos. This is building 8, here's building 1 up here. We placed material between basically building 8 and building 4, and then as the gentleman mentioned, the Corps was placing material, in this area towards the river, and in front of buildings 1 and 1 to 3. This is about 20,000 cubic yards of material. This is permitted, and this is planned for later this month. This area was up north of the Topsail Reef condos. Up here, this is about 15,000 cubic yards of material, and the contractor, I have reached out to the contractor. He says he does have the he can possibly do that this, basically when we get, because this is so close to the inlet, we're with a permit extension from CAMA, we can work to about, to mid-April, April 14. So this is where we're proposing, if there is some additional sand that needs to be placed, it would be tucked in this area. The shorefront directly seaward of the Topsail Reef Villas between Building 1 and Building 8 is really difficult to put material and to keep it there for this truck haul. It's underwater at higher tides. When you place that material there, it almost immediately washes away unless we're putting, on the order of 100, 200,000 cubic yards of material. It's really difficult to put. With the Topsail Reef Villas, kind of the condos sticking out a little bit, it's a little easier to place material and have it stay. And obviously it's going to wash both ways and stay within the surf zone. This area, it's close to the inlet, but we do think it does have some staying capacity. Right now, with current conditions, it's difficult to put material in front of the Topsail Reef condos and have it stay. The Army Corps of Engineers is planning another project here for this, not this winter, but the following winter. It's pretty much every other year, where they do put, they have been putting up to 200,000 cubic yards of material. So that will not help in the next couple of months, but that will help here, within 9 months or so. For the Phase 5 project, as Alice mentioned, the ST Wooten, where they're currently, they're using the sand out of ST Wooten sand mine. They're stockpiling material. Basically, the trucks could run right now, but they would be running kind of at half production. And instead of running at half production, they want to wait for the stockpiling to really build up so they can run at full production. And that will be here in a couple of weeks. They still are on schedule here, but they are eating away at their buffer that was contracted to them. And, we have let them know their concerns, and we will, make sure that that's in writing. On the positive side, the contractor, I did speak with the contractor yesterday. There's the two different mines that he can use, the 421 sand mine and the ST Wooten mine. He did say that the 421 sand mine is back up to full production, so they are also stockpiling sand. So there should be good amount of sand here for the contractor to finish out Phase 5 and to do that Phase 1 project, the 20,000 cubic yards. If there's an additional 15,000 cubic yards that the board, and obviously it's funding related, funding dependent, if the board wants to go ahead with that. Here's just some recent Phase 5 photos. The sand looks really good. The material, it's always, very consistent. It's good color, good consistency. And then the Phase 4 project, we'd still like to get a start on this Phase 4 project, in the end of April, beginning of May. This has been, this is one of the projects we did when we contracted with the contractor. There was a little bit of buffer in there, just, there is weather and, working with the storms and having some losses that occur during the storm that really aren't the contractor's fault. There have been some things that have been the contractor's fault, but we did have a little buffer built in, and we're kind of out of buffer, or we're very close to being out of buffer. So the beach project updates, we're still planning for that 20,000 cubic yard placement that will be directly, down drift or, to the south of the Topsail Reef condos. The EIS is still under development. Dial Corda contacts me every now and then with a technical question or something, but it seems like they are working with the Corps to move that forward. The state grant nourishment is for 303,000 cubic yards. That is, that's still online, and we're hoping to get a little start on that here, in April. Phase 5 beach nourishment, it's currently they're waiting for that stockpiling to build up so they can go back to full production. And then I continue to work with the finance officers and DEC associates regarding kind of the FEMA and state projects. For grant coordination, I have been talking with Chris Gibson and with Alice for the grant that is the state grant that's out there that the town is going to submit for the Vitex project here. The one project we were thinking is up in that phase 1, phase 2 shoreline, but obviously the town match is kind of in question because the town has been using state grant funding up there for that, for instance, for that 20,000 cubic yard project. That is state funding related, so we can kind of, and then permitting coordination on all projects, and so that's kind of where we are with the beach projects.
So, Fran, I do have a couple questions, and then I'll open
Yes.
it up to the board. So, do you, as far as the extensions that we need to be approved, I don't believe that is complete yet. Do you know when you expect to hear back on the extension requests?
Grant?
No, usually the regulatory agencies, they want the way they usually prefer it is you just do it, you say, we're, 80% finished this project, we need more time. Usually they want you to see kind of some project progress prior to initiating that extension into kind of that area, and so we will do that, and this is kind of just their process.
Okay, that's fine. As long as it's not holding us up, that's what I wanted to make sure. And then I'm still struggling with the Schedule 1, the schedule still being pending for the Phase 1 project. I'm not sure why we're having such a hard time nailing down a schedule for that. Even if the dates end up being adjusted, I feel like we should have a schedule by now.
You're talking about the 20,000.
So if we could push on that, I think that would be greatly appreciated, especially from the board. So does anybody else have questions for Fran?
I do.
Okay.
So if you could help me out, back to the phase 1 and doing more up there. All right, so what you just laid out for us is the Army Corps is going to come back and do another dredging project and sit and put sand generally up in the phase 1 area within the next 9 months, according to what you just delivered to us, correct? Not within 9 months would be next year. But my point though is we're also looking at potentially putting more sand up there ourselves, but that would be 100% of our dime, correct?
Correct.
So not the 20,000, but anything additional up there is going to be 100% town, number one. And number two is it's also going to be in generally the area where the Army Corps is going to put sand when they dredge in 9 months?
Yes.
Okay, so, and I'm not asking for your recommendation, I'm just a little bit surprised at looking, we're already, this board approved a permitting thing to basically put all the permits in place to be able to do an engineered beach townwide. And that hopefully will be done within the next 12 months. Okay, I'm trying to understand why it would be good for us to do something 100% at our dime when we're gonna have somebody else put the sand in on their dime, right? 9 months from now, okay? I'm just trying to work through the math on that. I'm not saying we don't put sand up there because we're gonna put the 20,000 up. And that's state grant money that we've got that's paid for. But now we're talking about well over $1 million plus to put more sand in an area that we're gonna have sand go into 9 months from now. at somebody else's time. Am I missing something in that, Fran?
No, you're not. You're not. At the last board meeting, I was requested to kind of look into this alternative. I presented this alternative, but I generally agree with your interpretation.
I mean, all I'm looking at is, it seems to me, and this is the discussion we had about the beach plan with Chris and everything else, is a lot of this stuff comes down to, it's not that we're not going to do it, it's when we're going to do it, right?
Okay.
And, and if you looked at, the amazing thing to me is when Chris said when the permits are in, if we can do that borrow pit that he was talking about, okay, 1, 2, and 3 are gonna get literally all of their sand within a 3 or 4 month period, because we're not trucking it in anymore.
Right.
Right? And I guess I'm just looking at something, and look, I appreciate people up in the north end of the island. I'm in 3, so we haven't spent any money in 3 on any sand, so just a full disclosure. But it just seems it's a timing issue, and I'm just trying to figure out what the best use of our funds are in doing something like that. And I'm having a hard time getting my hands around spending money in April or May, maybe even finishing it, when somebody's gonna put a ton more sand up in that area within 9 months, right?
Correct.
I don't know what you guys think. I'm trying to get my hands around the economics of this thing.
Any additional discussion or questions?
So Fran, my question at the last board meeting, based on your beach survey results, were there sections of the dune line in town, in sections 1 through 3, where the dune needed to be reinforced? And I guess because you've suggested placement of the sand north of the topsail reef, that you don't feel there's any section of dune line that we need to reinforce basically temporarily.
There are definitely some sections of dune up in phases 1 through 3 that would benefit from additional sand, especially there are a few, even the Marina Way area that dune has been eaten into, just south of the Jenkins Way, the dune is not in great shape. So are you asking for, emergency like dune truck haul that should happen here, in the next 2 months between March and April?
Well, I'm really asking what your recommendation is. Are we going to, is your recommendation to put sand on the beach north of Topsail Reef? Or is there any consideration to doing dune restoration work in other sections along New River Inlet Road?
Again, I thought Fran had said that there were a few spots where he would recommend some dune restoration. What we don't know yet is what would the cost be, because that would be a town cost. And that was in addition to the potential additional sand north of Topsail Reef. So I think Fran has provided us with that information, but if we have questions, we can ask them.
And then the dune the dune project, obviously the entire dune system, in phases 1 through 3 could, basically use material. We were coming up with, anywhere between 40 and 60,000 cubic yards of material, but in terms of, permitting that and getting that work done, that will not happen here this season, in the next 2 months. If there's some spots that, that really require some emergency patching, we can work on that. And did look like a few areas that could use some emergency patching. That is going to be very minor, and hopefully it holds, but with these higher water levels and the beaches there, it's difficult where that material does not have vegetation on it to stabilize it. So a lot of times that material does, just kind of fall off the dune where you put it and end up on the beachfront right in front of it.
You've answered my question, Fran, thanks.
Any additional questions for Fran?
No, I think Fran's got the plan, and we have permits for the plan, and you want to continue to execute the plan that's in place so that we don't outlast our permitting process and get beyond those dates that we're approved for. So I think Fran was putting it back on the board that if we wanted any emergency work done, that would be on the board to come up with that. But you need to move forward with what we're approved for, what we're permitted for, and make that progress that's in place in the current plan. Just a comment.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Fran. I appreciate that. And then, do you have any additional information to cover on the recent beach survey, or you wrapped that all in there?
I did wrap that all
I
in
thought
there.
so.
And then basically, when we do, the town does their annual beach nourishment surveying here. You know, they do it pretty much in around June, July, prior to hurricane season. In case that a hurricane does come through, then we have a accurate pre-project for all the FEMA stuff. We are definitely going to plan on fine-tuning the dune area. A lot of times the survey transects are every 1,000 feet, but every now and then, especially with this, you know, with these dune, the variation in the dune thickness, sometimes there can be, you know, you can do a station and then another station 1,000 feet away, and you miss like a weak dune area because it's not, you know, on the official transects. So we're also going to look at that in between and make sure that we're covering almost 100% of the dune versus the 1,000-foot sections, which are usually pretty good in terms of giving you a very good indication of overall beach health. But for this one, we're going to, you know, really look at the dune continuously.
Okay. All right. Well, then I just want to say thank you, Fran. We appreciate you joining us today.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. We're going to move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. And then we're going to move on to continuing business. So we have Chair Struther to give us an update on the BISAC committee.
Good morning. Still morning. Thank you. The BISAC committee, for those that don't know, that's the Beach Inlet Sound Advisory Committee. Our last meeting was February the 20th, and we were coming down off a high, but it was a good meeting. Manager Darian gave us a report which included the Phase 5 to Phase 4, all those things that you've already heard. We also talked about the Coastal Reserve Commission rules, and she gave us the most pressing issues of that, and we acknowledged that we had submitted a memorandum of support for that. And then Member Benson added that the Rules Review Commission negated these long-standing rules, thus the need of the CRC to reestablish the rules as temporary. And then Chris Gibson, who was at our meeting, added that the rules are regularly reviewed, but they didn't get them done on time last year. I don't know whether you've got any further report from that or not. So anyway, we have supported that and sent it in, and we're hoping that that gets done. You know, the downside of it being like it is, we won't get any more state grants until that's been done. I mean, it's kind of put everything on hold until that gets back approved and have the rules. We also, then we talked about the North Topsail Beach Board of Aldermen action following the BISAC's 5-year report at your last meeting. And myself and members Benson and Grant reported on the presentation that Chris made to the board. And we reported how well it seemed to have been received and the approval of the initial funding, and we commented on the success of that, and then we did our song and dance and cheers, and then we moved on with new business. Chris talked about the next steps on the 5 and 30-year beach plans. Chris reviewed the steps and went into the detail of the testing and permitting and the time frames, which is some of the detailed things of where we're going moving forward. And of course, the overall plan is to get phases 1, 2, and 3 engineered. So I mean, a lot of conversations all about phases 1 and 2 and 3. But when we finally get to this point, they're all going to get done, and they're all going to get done at the same time. And we may start in the middle. It may not start at the end. I mean, we're going to start it wherever the easiest point is to pump sand from. And so and then phase 4 and 5 will continue to be worked on, and once we get 1, 2, and 3, then all of our beaches will be engineered beaches. And those that's heard this before, that is our goal. That is what we're trying to achieve. Once we achieve that, then we have FEMA money. We have all kind of things when they have storms that we don't have now. We only have it in one phase right now, and that's phase 5. Phase 4 will be shortly, hopefully, when we get to that point. And we talked about where we're going to get that sand. We talked about the disposal area 143, which is up there at the point where the river and the inlets and all come together, and at the corner of Cedar Cut Bush on the ICW. And there's enough sand in that DA 143 to construct a 60 to 70 foot yard beach through phases 1, 2, and 3. And they will all be done simultaneously, all being done together. We're hoping to put in a matching shallow draft inlet grat in March or April of 2025, and to aid in the development of that disposal area. This will facilitate all the permitting and all that we're trying to do. This will facilitate a 2026 start to the project, assuming that we don't have any major storms, don't have any other big problems that come through there. And so we're trying to have we want to have the plans and the grants in place so that we can have a one-stop meeting in June or July. And as a part of the construction plan, we put it in a temporary retention structure. Remember that terminology, a temporary retention structure. It's not a groin, it's not a term. I mean, it's a temporary retention structure, and that's what it needs to always be called from the town people and the board and everybody else. And that will be to protect the inlet so there's no navigational impact. And while we're doing everything that we're doing, and this component may need a Section 408 review to determine the impact of navigation, which review will take about 6 months or a year to complete, but hopefully by March of 25, we will have the permits in hand so construction can start in 26. So that is what that is what Chris had told the board in part of his presentation, and it is our plan, and that is where we're headed now with all of our permitting and continuous work going forward with that.
And just a couple of comments from the meeting, just real quick. You scheduled the field trip. Chris is going to be in Washington. That's going to be that's the Washington trip. So you're going to have to reschedule the April.
Again?
Yeah, we've got it on here as April 15th, and I think you've got it scheduled as April 16th for the next for doing that. We're talking about taking people up and looking at what's going on.
What's the third Tuesday of April?
I don't know. I'm just telling you. That's actually Chris mentioned that to me this morning.
16.
The week of the 15th is when
They're going to be in D.C., which
Well,
Chris will be there in D.C.
Terry, there'll be a change to the change to the change.
You got that,
I
too.
made a change to the change. Now we're going to do a change to the change to the change.
That's right.
So in any event,
You sure you're not in government?
I could be, man.
And that's going to be a field trip. And then just
Pay's not too good.
Right, and just anecdotally for everybody, one of the things that he just brought up very, very quickly, which was a mind blower for people in BISAC, is he talked about construction starting in 16, right? Chris, we were trying to get 26.
26, yeah.
I know I've lost 10 years. The interesting part of this thing is we asked Chris anecdotally, what's the difference between doing a truck haul and doing it what we're talking about here? And he said, in a good time, we're averaging about 100 trucks a day in these truck hauls. Do you remember what the number he threw out for us was? What the equivalent was?
I think we were talking about
2,000 a day.
2,000 a day,
effectively,
yeah.
By not doing it. So all three, 1, 2, and 3, okay, using what he's talking about as a project, all of it can be done within 3 or 4 months.
Yeah,
The
that's where I was
entire-
saying
So the
within a
argument-
5-month time frame, we can
Right.
do the whole thing. So-
Right, because Larry was we were talking in the meeting, it was funny because he said, oh my God, now the people in 2 are gonna get mad because I said, if everybody's getting it within 3 months, we're probably good. So anyway, I thought 2,000 was the number, 2,000 trucks a day equivalent.
And I don't have the exact location, but based on the way everything, the closest route to get there is going to put us in phase 2 somewhere, and so then we're going to work from there, going probably north and then south. Whatever Chris decides is the thing. So that'll happen quickly when we get there. We're talking about 2026, but 2026 be here before we know it, and then when we do get on it, it won't be a long, prolonged situation. Because then we talked about how the 5-year plan is going to dovetail into the 30-year plan. The 30-year plan is a pipe dream out there that we're going to work towards and that's going to be a maintenance plan and a redo plan and all those things. And there's too many variables right now to talk about that. We did then decide that we were going to take a tour, which is not happening that date, and or the next date. And then Chris actually suggested that maybe we hold a public meeting after the one-stop meeting to let the public know the details of the 5-year plan. And of course, Member Grant and myself noted that the Board of Aldermen would have to approve that kind of situation. But we may want to ask you about that when we get closer to that time, Payne, because I think it will be good because we get so many questions from so many people. And once we have the one-stop meeting, then we know what we're doing and where we're going, and it would be nice to share that with the public that wanted to know. And those that don't want to know, they'll say what they think on... Anyway, I didn't say that. Anyway, the next BISAC meeting is going to be sometime. It was going to be March the 19th, and then it was going to be, and so I'll have to go back and research the calendar. Any questions from anybody?
Any questions from the board?
Thank y'all for all your support.
Thank you, sir.
Y'all
Very
support
nice,
us well.
very
We
nice
appreciate
update.
y'all.
Okay, we're going to move on to new business, and the next item is the Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission Charter with Mayor Pro Tem Benson.
Yeah, this is just a reminder. We're looking at reviewing the Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission Charter. It's been about 8 years since the charter was last reviewed. I've sent to the board some revisions that Alderman Leonard and Chair Strother and I worked on, suggested revisions. The scope of the Shoreline Protection Commission has changed somewhat from strictly a beach nourishment, stay on top of state and federal rules and regulations for beach nourishment, to also, in a way, measures that protect our inland water, our salt marshes, the public waters behind Topsail Island. So, for an example, we've been instrumental working with the North Carolina Coastal Federation in supporting a ban on non-encapsulated styrofoam in dock floats and piers. Also worked through the Coastal Federation to get a state law to ban derelict vessels in the coastal waters. So we need to be thinking about protecting the ecosystem that makes up the land between the island and the mainland. So I'm just a reminder to the board, if you have comments to and suggestions to the charter that I sent out, please get them to me by next Wednesday so that I can compile all of the comments and get them back to Chairman Smith.
13th. So if we could just all be conscious of the 13th and get any comments back to Mayor Pro Tem Benson, I appreciate that. The next item is the Board of Adjustment with consideration of the application from Ms. Susan Meyer for the regular position vacancy on the Board of Adjustment for a 3-year term. And the action that I'm going to request is for a motion to appoint Ms. Meyer as a regular member to the Board of Adjustment.
I'll make the motion to appoint Susan Meyer,
Do I have a
regular
second?
position to vacancy, Board of Adjustment.
Second.
All in favor?
Are we
Any-
not gonna discuss it first?
Yeah, just, I'm sorry, I should have said discussion.
I don't know why certain members of the board have chose to make this personal. It's not personal. I've never seen this put on the agenda the way that it's put on the agenda. I know that it's the mayor's type of thing. And I'll remind the people on this board that we had a long discussion about having multiple people in the same boards. We went through this stuff 3 or 4 months ago. I think that the individual we're talking about here is an incredible asset to this town. I think that she has shown that time and time again. But I'll remind people that we made Stu resign from one of these boards before we appointed him to another board. All right, so it has nothing to do with the person, the applicant on here, and I don't like the fact that this was made a personal thing as to some kind of attack, because that is not the case. I think that she has been an exceptional person working with this. But I'll remind everybody here that we went through this before, okay, in terms of having somebody not on the board, not on both boards. And we went ad nauseum on this back in October and November. And so my issue has nothing to do with this individual. I think that she would be great on either board, all right? But again, we had this long discussion and all these discussions about who should be on what board, everything else, and we had other people that had applied before, all right? And I've just never seen it done this way, and I think to the point that we just talked about, we noticed this for 30 days, all right? And now we're taking an action. Frankly, I'm not understanding why the mayor put this on there, because I'm the only person that went to the Board of Adjustment meeting, and it was handled very well. We had one of the, you know.
I put it on the agenda, just
All
to be
right, well,
clear.
whoever. I'm just saying, I've never seen it done this way.
But Rick, I really didn't get the opinion that there was any type of personal attack happening. I think that what I needed to do was get a motion, a second, who wants to have it on, who wanted. So it didn't pass to pull it off. I didn't take it as a personal attack on anybody on this board or even on any of the candidates that applied.
I wasn't speaking to you, Mayor. I'm talking about the discussion we had about this being on the other agenda.
But right now, what I also understand is that Ms. Darian did reach out to folks who had applied previously, going back quite a bit, and that there wasn't any additional interest right now. So
And we posted it for 30 days, is my
right, but
point.
it's always open, so you don't have to wait for us to announce that there's a vacancy. If you have interest in any board that we have, you're always willing to, you can apply at any point in time.
But no
and we
offense,
reach
Mayor, but
out.
under that scenario, then, what we would do is anytime we've got an opening, we would just say, we'd randomly come in here, put it on there and say, well, you could apply anytime you wanted, all right? Because I
No.
thought the whole idea was trying to get other people to participate in this kind of thing. And
Yeah,
I'm
you're-
just telling you, I don't like this. I don't like the discussion that was had about the agenda item, okay? Because that is a personal attack. I have nothing against her at all, okay? Like I said, I would vote for her on either board, all right? And if she's the only candidate, I'd be happy with this. But I don't like this whole idea about I'm not vetting her. I think that she's a wonderful candidate for whatever she wants to serve on, and she's proven that as a board member up here and every committee that she's got. And when I went back and put down the attendance list, she was the only one that showed up for all the meetings, which I much appreciated. She's the only one that showed, she's the alternate that's filled the gap in every time she's gone on that. My only issue is we went through this 4 or 5 months ago about being cautious about having somebody on both boards. All right, and my whole point was I didn't see an urgency to have that filled based upon my attendance at the last Board of Adjustment meeting. All right, because both of the alternates were there and the other members were there. All right, and so that was my whole issue. And again, I don't like the fact that this is something where I don't think that she is qualified. I do. I think that she is an exceptional contributor and her family to this town. And so I don't want that to be read any way but that. But again, I just remember all this stuff we went round and round and round and round on this board not very long months ago, and everybody seems to have forgotten that. So I'll get off my soapbox, but I really don't like the way this was handled in terms of the agenda.
So my question is, how many boards is she on now? Is Ms. Meyer on now?
planning board and an alternate for the Board of Adjustments. And we did have, to Rick's point, we did have conversation, quite a bit, lengthy conversation about trying to have different members on each board. But, you know, unfortunately, if this position needs to be filled, we don't have a long list of candidates who are volunteering for the town, and that goes back to Rick's point.
Well, but also I think you used the word need, and the answer is, we had council advise us before that we do not have to have every position appointed, so it is not a need, it's a want. And like I said, I would love to have that, but he also went through ad nauseum, in a good way, about what quorums you need, what you're doing with appointing stuff, okay? And I think that we need to be careful that we don't screw we have to have 4 out of 5 votes, all right? So if you have 6 on people, now you're gonna have to have 5 out of 6.
For a variance, you have to have 4 out of 5.
Right, for that kind of stuff. And like I said, this is not about her at all. You know, if she gets appointed to this board, I'm fine with that. I just think this process stinks.
Well, what I'm hearing, though, is there's no sense of urgency right now to fill this position, that this committee is working with the alternates. So I'm not hearing that she needs to be on both boards. I'm not hearing that there's a sense of urgency for this appointment. That's my only comment.
And then just real quick, just so you understand, if the consensus of this board is to appoint her to that board, I'm actually going to vote for it. It's the process I don't like, because I think that she is very good. She attends, she prepares herself, she does all those type of things. So, again, it's the process that I don't like, and I don't like the discussion that went when we were talking about the agenda.
Well, I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like how something that is this simple and this straightforward got spun so far out of control. That's what I don't like. I mean, this whole thing kind of turns my stomach, if you want to know the truth. No wonder we don't get anything done.
So currently, Mayor, she's an alternate.
Right, but I just want to take a step back, because the reason that the current board is working the way it is because she is an alternate, and as Alderman Grant said, she comes to every meeting. So in all fairness, she's operating as a board member, is the point I'd like to make.
That's important for everyone to know.
Yeah.
You know what else is important for everybody to know? Is that we don't have a long line stretching all the way over the other side of the high-rise bridge for volunteers in this town. Okay, we just don't, and we never have, okay? And we need to take good care of the people who are committed, and who are dedicated, and who do come to the meetings, and who do their homework, and who do prepare, okay? I've been coming to these meetings since 2007, and we've always had problems getting qualified, interested volunteers. It's unfortunate that all of this bubbled up when it did, specifically with the individual it bubbled up with, because she is a real key asset to this town, okay?
So I have a first and a second. Clerk, could you just call roll so we can finish the vote?
Alderman Leonard.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Benson.
Aye.
Alderman Olszewski.
Aye.
Alderman Grant.
Okay.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer. We're going to move on to the next item, which is the 2024 Washington, D.C. federal meetings. So these are in-person meetings. I was able to go last year. I can't believe it's been almost a year already. With Alderman Leonard and also our town manager, Ms. Darian, and participated in these meetings. And the main goal for North Topsail Beach when we go up to the federal meetings is to speak about COBRA. So as you know, Alderman Leonard has been taking the main role in as it relates to trying to get COBRA removed from our town. I'm sure he dreams about it even in his sleep. So the action I'm requesting is for a motion to appoint Alderman Leonard and Ms. Darian, our town manager, to be our representatives for the attendance at the Washington, D.C. federal meetings.
I'll make a motion to appoint Mr. Leonard and Alice Darian to represent us at these federal meetings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I just didn't know why we need a motion, but I'm 100% behind this.
Well, I mean, it's
Traditionally how we've done it,
I think it's good, and
Yeah, we did last year. You know, if I can real quick, where we're still at with the bill, House Resolution 2437 is, it is still in the process of the CBO scoring, Congressional Budget Office scoring, where they analyze whether, you know, what cost, if any, the government would result from passage of the bill. And as I've said before, our passage of this bill would actually probably cut down on, it's advantageous to everybody because it would put more people into the pool to be available to get their insurance through the NFIP. So the NFIP funding is there, more funding from our town, and then at the same time, we are a donor community, the NFIP, in that we put in much more in premiums than we ever receive back in claims. And that's what we're going to primarily work on when we're up there.
thank you, sir.
Again.
Okay, so we're going to move on to open forum. Do we have anybody who signed up? Okay, thank you.
No.
Yeah, you can, certainly. Mr. Fontana, just give your address, please.
Okay, Fred Fontana, 1866 New River Inlet Road. Couple things. One, I want to thank Alice for her continued pursuit of the bikeway project. Slowly but surely, it may come to fruition. The second thing is I've become a glutton for punishment and am now on our HOA board at the Topsail Dunes complex. And I was a little disappointed to hear that Fran said there's really nothing that can be done with the state of the dunes this year. I know some of you have probably gone out there and walked the beach and seen the dunes. There's a big hole by building 1. The dunes are completely gone for probably a good 20, 25-foot section where the water would just run. High tide, it just could run right underneath building 1. And also by building 3, the dunes are down to maybe 2 feet at the most, for a good 20 or 25 feet. So I know a sand push doesn't make sense because it just rushes right away. I mean, this is the area that had all the sand put there 2 years ago. But I think, I know we're probably not the only place there in the area, but I think if there's some way that the town could get some emergency sand, it doesn't need that much sand, but I know it can't wait for another year, and that's what Fran implied, that even if we did get some sand, it wouldn't be till next year. But if anything could be done before the end of April, the end time where we could get sand on there, I'd greatly appreciate it. And that's for me, and I think I could clearly say our HOA board feels the same way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Nancy, is anybody else? No? Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Don Hibbert, 2264 New River Inlet, number 105. This gentleman was talking about the bridges, and, you know, we have 10 bridges going across New River. So I had talked to Member Grant and confirmed that that is state property and not the town. So I got hold of, or I sent an email to the department, you know, in Raleigh, just thanking him for the condition of the roads. And I says, there's no reason that you would know, you know, this 5-mile stretch, but it has 10, you know, because it's so not occupied by people there. But I would recommend that everybody in the room and anybody listening send an email or a letter to the state saying, hey, you know, these bridges need some help on the on and off ramps just on New River Inlet. The rest of the roads are in pretty good shape. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay, then we are going to move on to the attorney's report.
I have no report,
Okay, and the mayor's report, I just have a few things I'd like to just discuss. I certainly want to thank Barry for all of his years of service. So he will be surely missed around here when you walk in that front door. I'd also like to welcome Jessica as our financial officer. She hasn't run out screaming yet. She came right at budget time, so that's good. If you haven't seen the fire truck, Chief, is it still outside or did it go back? Yeah, so if anybody wants to take a look at your brand new fire truck, please do so. And I also wanted to join Ms. Darian in thanking Jones Onslow for the assistance in the financial aspect of obtaining that truck. I did also hear, and I echo Alderman Grant's frustration in our board appointee process. So I would suggest that we as a board take another look at just the process in general and see if there's any way we can make it better. And that is the mayor's report. Thank you for coming. So I'm going to start with Alderman Leonard.
Okay. I want to thank everybody for coming out today. A big thanks to Barry for all of his service to the town. Kind of been interesting watching him over the years, from doing everything from sitting out here as a de facto receptionist to running around putting tickets on garbage cans that were left out late and kind of everything in the middle. He's sort of been a mainstay of the town, and I appreciate his service, and he will be very much missed. I gave some of what I was going to say about Cobra already, so I won't go over it again, other than the fact that, just because nothing is happening right this minute doesn't mean we're not pushing from behind the scenes. We spoke with Mike McIntyre as recently as 11 days ago during the last TISPC meeting with regard to an update, and everything that I've been told right now is that this process has to be allowed to happen, and if anything, we could probably jeopardize the process by making phone calls and trying to kick the trash can over and things like that. And so it's frustrating because we've worked so hard on it and got so far, and now it's letting the system work itself through, and it's never probably been one of my strong suits. But we will be visiting with Congressman Murphy, Congressman Rouser, and then our senators as well when we go up in April. The North Carolina Beach Inlet Waterway Association Spring Conference is at Emerald Isle this year, May 9th to the 10th. I expect that if you haven't heard from Kathleen Riley asking for a sponsorship that you will, but we need to be thinking about who's going to go and how that's going to affect our sponsorship, in that our sponsorship provides a certain number of attendees. I'll be attending the groundbreaking on May the 17th for the Carolina Museum of the Marine in Jacksonville. And lastly, I'd like to pause to remember today 18 of our local Marines who gave the full final measure 21 years ago this month on March 23rd, 2003, in a place called An Nazariya, Iraq, during the invasion. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, we had a really good audience today. Appreciate everybody that came out, interested in the town and town matters. And just a heartfelt thanks to Barry. When you come into town hall, he always had a happy face and something cheerful to talk to you about, so he'll be missed. And we do have a beautiful fire truck out there. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Ms. Olszewski.
I wanted to thank everybody coming out and those who spoke today. It's so important as citizens to have your voices heard. And also I'd encourage all of you to reach out to Alice or the mayor if you want to serve on a committee and you don't know what that committee does, and you want more explanation, because I think the more of you that get involved on the committees, the better it will be for disseminating information around the town. And if we're using acronyms during the meeting that you don't understand, please feel free to raise your hand so that we can explain those. Thank you.
Alderman Grant.
Yeah, just real quick with thanking Barry. My memory of Barry was we had just moved here and my trash didn't get picked up. So I came down here and I said, he was a guy that was around. I walked up to him. I'll take care of it. He literally got in one of the trucks here, drove down to my house, took the garbage out of my trash cans, okay, and took it to the dumpster that we had. That was and every time I'd see him, I'd talk about, now that's customer service, where he literally came down to my house and took the trash. What I'm gonna miss most, though, is he did have the candy jar out there, and so I hope he would continue that.
Let's put that in the budget.
We should, really. But no, we're gonna miss him, and thanks, everybody, and I would, again, second what you said about serving on committees and things like that, and I think we've come a long way, and I know, Larry, the applause that you were talking about at the BISAC meeting in terms of moving forward with this, and at the Board of Adjustments meetings, one of the people who has since left, I think, that was here before, or maybe she's not, was very effusive and very happy about where we're going forward, right, Hannah? in terms of just the beach plan and everything else. So thanks for everybody working on that, and thank you for coming.
Okay. Well, thank you for everybody for coming as well. And with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to enter into closed session.
So moved.
Seconded.
Go ahead, Brian.
Pursuant to NC General Statute 143-318, subsections 11A
So the board has returned from closed session, and under discussion was an opportunity to purchase some conservation land that has been presented to the board for consideration, and that item is under consideration from the board, but no decision has been made. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, guys.